Basement at home and trying to find ways to practice at home. It's a long season of winter, and so I'm looking for ways to practice. Here I happen to be on my knees, and I'm using a shorter racket. I just shortened my racket. I call it short racket, long racket. And so I can also do it with my hand. I like practicing a hand, and right now I'm just practicing brushing up or rolling up, or maybe like a Ferris wheel type of shot. And so there's different ways that you can hit the ball. And so I'm looking for things that spin, wheels that spin. You have wheels that help. You can turn your bike upside down and practice in your basement, and so you can practice top spin. You can find things that spin, and you practice like I'm doing right now, and you see how I'm brushing up. I'm using a shorter racket. I'm confined in space, so I don't want to take a big swing, but once I clean the basement a little bit, I'll have a little bit more room. I'm trying to organize a little bit, have so much tennis stuff to put away for next season, but it's getting colder outside. Very few opportunities to play outside. Perhaps a backboard when it's cold. I like doing that. There's a couple of parks around the area that have backboards. It's cold. And here I'm practicing with a racket I picked up at a thrift store. It's a nice racket. And I'm practicing with just brushing or rolling up, you'd say. It's a paint, actually, just to give you an idea what it is, it's just a brush with a roller on it, and I put it in a stand. And this happens to be the old baseball tee stand that someone discarded or I bought at the thrift store. And I'm always picking up things, looking for ways to practice. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be fun. You need to be creative. And so here I'm practicing, and I'm brushing up, and I call this, maybe I can call this rolling up the ball, or the Ferris wheel. In fact, in Milwaukee, they had Summerfest, where they have a Ferris wheel. And so you practice going up in the ball. And so it's a great way of practicing. And so finding ways at home to practice in the basement. You can always do shadow swinging. You can find things that spin, such as wheels. And so here I'm practicing with a paintbrush, and I'm just brushing up. And it's a great way of practicing. I can practice closing my racket, like petting a dog, brushing up, and then I can practice short follow through, maybe like a windshield wiper, or I can brush up. And so it's just a great way of practicing at home. And so I encourage you to be creative and find ways that you can practice. This is just one way that I like to practice. I happen to be on my knees using a short racket. A lot of times I tell kids when they're on their knees or they have them sit in a chair, is that tennis is a lifting game. It's also a game where you lift and you brush up. And so a lot of times what I'll do is this happens to be a roller. It's kind of neat to do it. I can also take what I like to do sometimes is just put a brush here, and then I tell the kids to brush up. And that's another way they can play, just brushing up so they get the idea. Brushing up, or in this case, we would say, okay, rolling, rolling, okay? Got a roller, and say rolling or up. Rolling, getting the spin perhaps, rolling the roller, okay, getting the roller to roll. How's that, okay? And just a fun way of practicing. And there's different ways that you can practice. So that's one way. Another way that I do is I take a stand, and I take a stand here, and I'll practice with a wheel. And I'll just practice, okay? And I just use the side of the racket, and I practice like a flashlight concept, where I'm doing forehand, and now I'm standing, and then I just get the wheel moving this way. And just a great way of finding different ways that you can practice. And so this is one way I practice with a wheel, okay, with a brush, so I can practice brushing up on the ball. I get the idea of brushing. I brush behind my head, I brush in front of my head, in front. And that way I get different results. More backspin here, and more, okay, topspin there. And then here with a roller, okay, which I just demonstrated. It's a paint roller. It's kind of neat. Just put it in the stand. You don't need to buy expensive things. I mean, you can do it. It's okay. But I'm just practicing feeling the ball, and it's a great way of practicing the Ferris wheel or rolling up the ball. And in fact, my son Joel said, his friend Tony would love this one. And so it's just a great way of practicing. I hope you're creative and find ways to practice while you're at home during a long winter season in Wisconsin.